Welcome to episode 13 of the In Our Headspace podcast. We are here at the studio.
In Idaho.
Hey, don't dox us. We are in a state nobody cares about, except for people who live here, and apparently Californians. And yeah,
I have interesting insight on the. Continue.
I'll continue. We both came to the realization today that we don't really have anything to talk about.
That's me every day.
That's Jared.
That's
every
me,
time.
Every time before the podcast, I think we're fucked.
It's new for me because I usually got something I want to say. And I do now. But that's after like 30 minutes of like pre-conversation to get warmed up. And now I've thought of something. So,
all right.
I guess we'll just jump into it.
Oh, we can wait.
Yeah, let's wait.
All right.
All right. So the thing I was going to talk about is literally what you and I were just talking about, where
being awkward,
like, yeah, running into people in public that you know, but you're so far, like, there's so much distance, like, as far as like that relationship goes. And it's like, do I say hi? You know what? Maybe I'm just an awkward person and my introvert comes out in those situations, but there are times where I'm like, oh yeah, I'll say hi to this person. And there's other times where I'm like, I don't think this person really liked me to begin with. So do I say anything?
Okay, I'm not the one to be giving my 2 cents on this topic.
Yeah.
But what I find normal is acknowledging their existence rather than doing what you did, looking away. Be like, oh God, I hope they didn't notice.
If
I
they
hope they
don't
didn't
acknowledge
notice.
mine, why do I have to acknowledge theirs?
So it's less awkward for this is all about me. Okay?
I'm okay with that.
No, but it was awkward as fuck for you. Where you felt dirty inside.
I'd say it was an awkward situation.
You felt dirty inside.
No. It was an awkward situation, but I wasn't like, cringe. It was like...
No, so, okay, for me, it's an awkward situation. I'm like, well, how do I make this less awkward so it's less painful for me?
Okay.
And so then I engage in conversation with them.
Yep.
I'm just like, hey.
Small talk.
It's not even small. It's literally just, hey.
Oh.
And then we part ways.
Oh. For me, I've come to realize this over the past couple years. I feel like I was such an awkward person before that, like, I don't care about awkwardness as much, as far as like when I'm in a situation where I'm like, ooh, this is getting awkward. Instead of like, or like what people call awkward silence or whatever, like you're in an elevator and you're just sitting there. There's another person next to you. People who can't stand the silence are usually like saying something, right? Like they spark something up. Where like with me, it's like nobody's talking. I'm like, cool.
Okay, I'm always caught in the middle of that stuff. I've had it like one time my uncle left his wallet at like a bar.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 12 a.m. and I get a call. And my aunt's like, I got to stay here with the baby. Can you take Kirk and go up and get his wallet?
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. So I pick him up and then we go to the bar.
Okay.
And then it's just dead silent. And I'm sitting here.
In
I'm
the
like,
car?
Yeah. And so I'm sitting here just like, well, I'm just like, I don't know what to talk about, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of sitting, driving.
Yep.
And I'm just thinking then, I don't know if I call this awkward, but I'm like, I mean, what does the other person think? Are they thinking, Jesus Christ?
Please talk. Yeah.
So I'm. Then there's times where silence is acceptance. It's acceptable, and it's all right to be quiet.
Yeah.
I'm just because usually whenever it's quiet, I am self-conscious about it. I'm just like, well, fuck. But there are times where there is silence, but I am ignorant of the awkwardness, and I am just relaxed. And then maybe like 5 minutes later, I'm like, oh, Right.
We should be talking.
Yeah, I was like, forgot.
For me, when I would go out, like a year ago, we went across the country for a film shoot, and I was staying in a separate hotel from the main event place, because technically the event place was a hotel, but they didn't have any more rooms, so it was like I was going to a different hotel. And so every night for like 3 nights I'd have to get an Uber there and back. And like I think this is when it really struck me, was like, Uber drivers, you get one of 2 types of Uber drivers from my experience, /Lyft /whatever service. But since it's just like normal people just like picking up like, oh, this person needs a ride, I'm going to go pick the, like, it's just normal people. It's not like a taxi driver or anything. So like you'll pick them up, and some of them have these like decked out cars that are like made for the passenger's experience. So like some of them will have like a TV in the back. Some of them will have like the one I was in had these like Christmas lights on the roof, and it had like this basket of candy in front, like in the like behind the passenger seat. And they had, what else did they have? They had like a list of rules or whatever, and it was like so weird, like such a strange experience. And then I get in, she was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I was like, "I'm doing good. You having a good night?" And I'm like, "Yeah, just doing this film shoot, blah blah blah." And she's like, "Cool." And then it's like,
nope. Okay.
Silence.
One thing I've noticed about myself.
Yes.
So some people that I go to school with,
okay,
when I talk to them in person, it's perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we could talk for a while, or for a long time, in fact.
Yes.
And then as soon as it gets to texting,
yes,
on my side at least, and I've realized now, it's funny, like, I was like, oh, I think I'm the asshole in the relationship. Like, I love talking in person. I don't know. I just find it easier. That's why I like doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But these people that I know, you know, there's group chats of all of us.
I hate group chats.
That's all right. But a lot of the time, they're the ones that will like reach out first and message me. Then I respond, and the conversation ends.
Yes.
And then I just realized it was like, oh, the people are the ones that are always messaging me. Like, they're the ones going out of the way to talk to me first. Then we talk for a little bit, then it stops. And I'm now coming to the realization, oh,
it's because I didn't take the conversation anymore.
Well, that's one thing. But then also, I've never messaged them first, is what I'm
okay.
realizing.
Yep,
so I'm just like, I wasn't meaning to be an asshole if that's what I'm doing.
Right.
I just realized that because...
Well, in your defense, because I relate,
I just don't know what to fucking say when we're texting.
It's very difficult to, like, I used to be better at it when I was in high school, and, like, that's pretty much the only way I communicated with my peers. But now I'm not surrounded by a bunch of people. So it's like the main people I talk to in my life are the people I see in person or talk online over Skype. But, like, that's literally just you guys. Like, there's 3 people. So it's like, when I'm texting someone, I don't sit there and text someone to have a long conversation. I text them to, like, say a couple things, respond potentially if I was the first one message, and then it's like,
that's it.
Conversation's over.
Yeah.
Not like, all right, let's talk about the next thing. Like, I don't know. That's me though. And that's what I'm saying, is I relate to that in a way.
One, I realize this conversation is a bit stupid, but I'm going to keep going.
It's okay. We're all about having stupid conversations here and there. We haven't had
Well, I can make it not stupid, but I want to keep talking about this.
We haven't had a goofy episode yet, Jim.
That's true.
Other than episode 0, I think.
Anyways, her name was Jada. I kind of fucked up this relationship because I just kind of stopped talking to her. Mm-hmm. I seem to do that a lot. It's a
habit.
It's a bad one.
Yes.
But regardless, I pushed forward.
Yes.
And I think that was the one relationship I had that was of genuine... We were just the first time I ever had a relationship like that. Because before with everyone,
Welcome to the club, Jared.
because like before with everyone, I feel like an asshole because I was the one that stopped talking to her. Like I feel like a dick.
Did you leave on bad terms?
No, we didn't.
I'm sure you could spark. If you were interested, you could spark it back up. Trust me, Jared. If you wanted it, you could just spark it back up.
Too awkward.
Hey, I got a podcast. I talked about you on it. Here's the episode. And then she'd be listening to me saying this right now.
No. Anyways. Maybe. No.
Maybe. All right, continue.
Because before that, and still, I'm always curious, like, because that was just one relationship, and it was very, like, we hit it off, and that's why we were able to talk for so long.
Yes.
About just anything.
Yes.
Because, like, socially compatibility-wise, was really good. And then I see my peers in my classes that have, like, 50 of those relationships. Although, like, not the exact... Okay, they have 50 relationships where they're 24/7, like...
Yes.
Talking. I'm like, man, not... Like, I want to read your messages, not to be a creep, but just to see what the fuck...
What it's like.
What do you talk about?
Yeah.
That is...
Put this into perspective, Jared.
All right.
Me, you, and Cameron talk almost every night. We communicate every day. And there are some weeks where we talk online, like over Skype, every night for like a week, maybe more, depending on time of year.
All right.
So in that sense, you could compare the two and be like, well, if those people saw this, they'd be like, how have you guys known each other for like 8 years and you can still do this and have stuff to talk about? And I'd say having these Skype conversations are way more dense than a text conversation. So there's a lot more to be said within that allotted time.
Well, I'll just say the quality is completely different.
That's true.
Because another lady I knew.
Damn, you got all the ladies. Ladies, man.
Certainly not perfect. She had like a Snapchat buddy. And it was the weirdest thing. She would 24/7 like Snapchat him, but she didn't like him. I don't know.
Yep.
People are weird.
Yep.
But they'd still talk like 24/7. And she's like, "Oh, this guy's so annoying." And it's probably some bullshit orbit or whatever the fuck people put labels on. But like,
hilarious. I hate this dude.
Well, I would peek over to see their Snapchats.
Oh my god!
And like, she would take a picture of her, like she would like rest her head on the table or something, and like take the picture. Then he would respond by like taking a bathroom selfie.
No.
And I was like,
you just send pictures of each other.
I didn't read the words, but I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, how?
What are you even talking about?
What is there to talk to at this point? I don't know.
Yeah. There are people who literally just send pictures of themselves to each other with no words.
And
it's just...
And I knew some people that did that because I'd make fun of them because they sat next to me. And I'd be like, what the fuck do you guys even talk about? And then the guy said, oh, we just send pictures of each other without saying anything.
Yes, we just see each other.
As I don't know. I'm sure anyways. So, segue, I guess.
Oh, snap. There's a segue.
Well, to get philosophical or whatever.
Oh, here we go.
My question is...
Another question. Oh, wait, Jared.
What?
I need to see if we got any responses. Because we did say...
It's gotta be 0 views.
It's definitely gonna be 0 views.
Right.
Or not views. We definitely have views. I saw that.
Are you sure?
Yes, we have views on every video. We're not at 0 anymore.
I doubt.
Jared, I lit it 3 views. Okay. I mean, I'm not saying it's a lot, but it's not 0.
All right.
Let's see if we got any comments. Pause. No. People don't interact with us.
That's all right.
Maybe we should start a Cameo account, and then people can pay us to say things.
There you go.
You think we're there yet?
No.
I don't think anybody said anything on Facebook either.
That's all right.
My mom comments on our Facebook stuff sometimes. Thanks, Mom.
Go, Mom.
Oh, Mia shouts us out every now and then.
Oh, thank you, Mia. Thank you.
So, everybody listening, go and shout us out. Interact with us. We'd love to start a conversation.
I wouldn't.
Jared wouldn't. Don't talk to Jared, though. Talk to me. Jared will just not continue the conversation. If there's anything you could learn from what we've talked about.
I'm a terrible human being.
Jared's a bad texter, so don't text him. If anything, just call him, and you can probably have a long...
I have like a 99% pickup rate if you call me.
Not me. I have like a 32%. There are times where I'm like, man, a phone call would be so hard right now. And so I'm like, or, hey, not all the time. I don't want anybody who I don't pick up for it. I don't want them to get the wrong idea, okay? Most of the time, I'd say I'm like in the middle of something and I don't have the capacity to just answer the phone and have a conversation. So I'm usually like, okay, I'll get back to it. There are times where I'm like, I don't really want to have a conversation right now. So I choose not to, okay? I'm an adult. I can make these decisions for myself. I always get back to the people who call me. You know who you are. It's
Damn.
my family.
Damn.
And, yeah, TED Talk is over. I just wanted to get that out there. And,
all right.
Continue, Jared, about your philosophy. Your question.
What does it mean to be a good person?
Ooh.
Tell me, Trey. Tell me.
Okay. So I want to preface it with a short tangent. Not full tangent, but definition of good.
All right.
Is, and I think I wrote a paper on this in high school. Good is pretty much a useless, what would you call it? Adjective, I guess. Because it's all completely subjective, obviously. And good does not exist if there is nothing bad to compare it to. So if you do something well, it's not seen as doing something well until so many people have done it poorly. So, and for the other definition of being good, like being a good person, having a good heart, doesn't really matter if everyone has a good heart, right? I mean, it matters, but you wouldn't be going around being like a bunch of there's just nothing but good humans out there, because good is only relative. So it'd be even amongst the best people, there's still people that are good and bad. So I think to be a good person, this is a very nihilistic view. To be a good person,
all right,
you merely have to be better than the people around you. You don't have to be a specific thing, if that makes sense. You just got to
okay, so better as in like you're more ethical type of deal.
It all depends. So
it all depends.
Depending on the environment you're in. Say you're in a gang, Jared.
Yep.
To be a better gangster than the other gangsters around you, you've got to be doing what a gangster does more effectively, if you will.
Okay.
But
hold on. You're okay.
A gangster compared to.
Okay, hold on. You're already. I want to make a. I want to be clear on some things here.
All right.
I believe you are steering more in the direction of mastery and discipline, as in being good in a certain field.
No. Nope. This is what I'm getting at.
Okay, finish.
So, I brought up gangster because.
So I want to be a good gangster.
Stereotypically, they are seen as bad. That's not my full opinion on it. Anyways.
We have laws.
Okay, here we go. You're in a drug ring, Jared, right?
I'm in a drug
something
ring?
objectively bad, right? Something objectively...
Child sex trafficking.
There you go.
All right.
Bit of a touchy subject, but yes, you're within that field.
All right.
Amongst the people within that community environment,
What a great community.
there are people who are considered you are a good person, you are a bad person. But technically, people outside of that would be like, all of you are horrible people. Which means even the good people that are within that are bad. And even the good people, the level out of that, like in normal society, the good people in society are still bad comparatively. So it's so impossible to quantify someone's goodness in general, and I don't think it's even I feel like it's not relevant. I think what matters is the specifics, like, are you a kind person? Are you a what does it mean to be a good person? I think at the end of the day, from my definition of it, to actually face your question head on, would be someone who makes a difference in any capacity, really. Someone who makes a difference within either their own life or other people's lives that has meaning. And again, that in itself is subjective. But if I'm doing stuff I don't care about, say I don't have people around me, I have no peers, I don't have family members or anybody around me, just in like I exist by myself.
Okay.
And I was doing something that I don't care about.
All right.
Doesn't mean anything to me.
So you're a bad person.
No, not being good doesn't mean you're bad.
Or not being good does not mean you're not bad.
Does not mean you are bad.
All right.
So I'm saying strictly is...
Because you said being good is doing something to change. And so if you
having
don't,
an impact.
So if you don't have an impact...
I'd say if you don't have an impact, you're not a bad person, but I wouldn't classify you as a good person.
Okay.
It seems harsh, but... And it's hard to like really get my perspective on paper here, but you're not a good person because like you can't just go and do nice things and be like, I'm a good person. You gotta man, this is a really complex.
And I just can't do good things and be a good person.
Exactly. You can't do what's perceived as good things and be a good person, because if you're a bad person, that will always show through. Like time and time again, influencers, celebrities, anybody in the spotlight proves that point. You can donate to as many charities as you want, and you can go and help as many people as you can, and you can still be an asshole.
So someone who donates millions of dollars towards charity or some sort of funding, more than a common man,
can still be classified as not a good person.
Even if they have done something quantifiably more benefit to society.
I would say so. Because being a good person is more than face value. Being a good person, I think being told or telling someone this person is a good person shouldn't just be so
No, okay. Like, let's just say this person's not in the spotlight.
Okay.
They're just a person.
Yeah.
That has donated more.
They have given back more than they've taken.
Yeah.
We could put it simply like that.
They're still a bad person.
I would say...
Just ignoring, like, they're not a celebrity. They're not in the spotlight.
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say that is a good person because of the fact that they are giving more than they are taking.
Okay, so going back to the celebrity thing.
Yes.
So, again, like, literally just removing the popularity part.
Right.
Is them still, quote-unquote, being a bad person. If they donated all of the money, a lot of money.
Yeah. I'm getting a little muddied here, so I feel like I'm contradicting myself a little bit, but I'm not gonna try to go back on what I was saying. But essentially, the whole point I'm getting at is just because you do acts of goodness, does not mean you are a good person innately.
Okay.
I think, and that was my entire point. So I probably contradicted myself a little bit, but at the end of the day, that's how I feel. If you are merely if you do a couple acts of goodness, like so many, you see people who will donate to make up for stuff, right?
Yeah.
They do something, so they're like, oh, sorry, I'll donate to this charity. Cool. That is a good thing to do. It does not mean you are now a good person, because I feel like a good person is a really earned thing. And to be honest, I don't think you have to be a good person to be liked, you know? Like, to have any sort of importance. You don't have to be a good person. To me, I don't think I've done enough things in my life, had enough experiences to consider myself a good person. Not that I'm a bad person, but I think just my viewpoint on it is maybe I hold it higher to a higher standard than most other people would, and it's very trivial. But if we were to take it super seriously, I don't feel like you can be a good person until you've thoroughly lived it, I guess. It's genuinely a part of you to consistently do the good thing over the not good thing. Not the bad thing, and like I said before, if you're not a good person, if you're not being labeled as a good person, that does not make you a bad person. It's not black and white. It's not one or the other. I'd say calling someone a good person in the context of your question, what makes a good person?
Yeah.
I think in that sense, I perceive it as almost like a higher title than maybe you'd commonly use it. Like, if I were to meet someone, be like, yeah, he's a good guy. Like, obviously I say that and I think that and I believe that. But I'm saying specifically the way my brain went when you asked me that question was, when you asked me what makes a good person, I immediately thought, I immediately put good person as part of a higher title. Maybe the correct term that I'm describing,
divinity,
is like a great person. Because I keep saying good, and it's like, but morally good and morally bad are unquantifiable, and I think that's why. And that goes back to my original point. I don't think there's much value in classifying people as good or bad. I'd say there are very obvious cases, but if you live your life trying to be like, well, I only talk to good people, good luck. Most people aren't great people. I'm going to start saying great, because that's what I'm saying. People are good. Good is a nice standard to be, you know? If everybody was a good person, that'd be awesome. Not everybody's a good person. Not everybody's a bad person. But yeah, I guess that's my brain rambling of your question there. But at the end of the day, I think quantifying it puts too much stress on it, and then I feel like it loses the point. So, yeah.
Guess it's my turn to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a big question.
Yes. It's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful. People, I would argue, the individual, are very complicated.
Yes.
We can all look inside ourselves and feel like the main character in a video game.
Or movie, or anime, whatever you're into.
Or anime. And then it's crazy. It's like, now take that and then times it by like whatever. We're approaching 8 billion people now, whatever it is.
Yep.
It's like, oh, it's a lot of story rich.
I was about to say a lot of storylines going
a lot
on.
of storylines here. Very, very rich in nutrients here. It makes it even more complicated when we're not exactly like robots, where it's like, oh, we're the same model, we do the same, we act the same
way. Yeah,
it's not quite like that. So for me, what is a good person?
Mm-hmm.
I like to put people into two camps.
Oh,
There are the people with the intent,
mm-hmm.
and then the people, the consequences. We've talked about this before. And, you know, for example, a scenario. You have a good person. Okay, you have a person that means to do well.
Yes, a well-intentioned person.
A well-intentioned person. They go and try to help, but they make the situation worse.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Now you have a person. Intentions are fueled by greed and money.
Yep.
And what they decided to do to make money, they create some sort of invention and sell it to many people. Well, inadvertently doing that, their lust for greed, their attraction to it, they coincidentally ended up helping many, many people.
Yes.
Because he filled a gap. He supplied something that was in high demand for.
Yes.
And in doing so, he was given his money and he helped many, many people.
Yes.
I'd say we're at quite of a predicament here comparing the two.
Yes. And it's given me clarity on my thoughts on it. So I like that.
Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
Based on the story, I believe Gygas, Greek story.
Oh.
I think it was another. I think it was like the Ring of Gygas, or the guy was called Gygas, something like. It was a Greek story. Now I could be completely bullshitting the rest of this, but I think there were two people in the story, Gygas and one other person, and it was an ethical story.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not, I'm sorry, I'm explaining the story wrong.
I'm offended. How dare you?
I know. The point of the story was like the ring would turn you invisible. And so when the ring was invisible, I think it was Gygas, he would go around and break the law. But when he didn't have the ring and couldn't turn invisible, he would not break the law. And so when looking at a person's character, for example, like following the law, being a good law-abiding citizen.
Yep.
Looking at why people don't break the law. When you ask, like, well, why don't you do that? Why don't you break the law? It's like, well,
consequences.
Well, I don't want to because, that make me feel bad, and I'd be a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
You could have other people, well, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to be put in jail.
Yes.
But then, like in the story of Gygas, when you turn invisible, it's like, okay, now you won't get caught. What are you going to do with that power?
Fascinating.
It's like, okay, good question. What will you do? And I find it interesting looking at people's character that way.
It's integrity. It's the definition of integrity.
You're having an end result of people following the law, but the way they got there to following the law were different.
Yes.
So, yeah, I found that interesting. So, when I think of a person being a good person, I am a believer of when in Rome, act as Romans do. I forgot. I don't know if it was, I think it was a study. I believe it was a study. It was two different cultures. One culture is like when the parent would die, the offspring of that parent or whatever would eat them. And then in a different culture, they would burn the bodies. And so the experiment was done where they switched it around culturally, where the people that normally ate the body watched it burn,
Uh-huh.
or were told about it. They didn't. I don't think they actually did it. And then it was
Right.
flipped around where the people that burned it were like, "Hey, eat the body," type of deal.
Right.
And then both sides were
They had
what,
different reactions.
like, "What the fuck? How disrespectful!
Yeah.
Why would you do that? I can't believe you'd do that."
But each one sees it as right.
And even so, I have my qualms. Like, let's look at a bad person then, for example. My issue with being good or bad, we all have the capacity for it. I'd say it's
Yes.
clear.
Yes.
We'll have the capacity to be good and bad. But I like to view it like body and mind, okay? Our bodies can change very quickly physically. You can work out, you could eat a lot, or you could stay the same. Maybe your joints start to deteriorate. There's noticeable. But I would say your mind would be much slower in changing. Almost like it's like a bucket and it's literally holding droplets of water. At some point, maybe it gets heavy enough and the bucket tips over, and then you put it back up and there's like a major change in who you are as a person from your mind perspective. But that takes time.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure we all know a lot of people. It's like, I've always been like this. And I'm also sure it's hard to quantifiably be like, oh, I've changed as a person. Whereas when you can physically see someone change, there's a difference.
Yeah.
And so when you look at someone that was good a year ago, are they good the next year? Are they good the year after that? Are they doing something to continually make them a good person? Same with the bad person.
Yeah.
And so when we start getting into the labeling game about being good or bad, to be frank, I don't have the answer. I don't know. I don't know what it means to be a good
I don't think anybody knows.
or a bad person. I think there's too much.
Too much to think about.
Because, again, it'd be unfortunate if you think you're a good person, you go out and try to do what you think's right and end up having a negative impact. And then you look at the guy next to you that has bad intentions that you think are bad and then benefits everyone. It's like, well, I need to take a step back and think.
Right.
Because something strange just happened.
I would side with the integrity. Doing the right thing when nobody is watching. I think that's at least one step to being a good person.
No one knows you're a good person.
And that's what I was saying before, is like consistently making a good decision. Whatever, like subjectively, whatever that is. Because like you were saying, if you act one way in America, then you go to some other country, right? And then you do the same thing and they're like, don't do that. That's disrespectful.
Yeah.
Are you a bad person now? No, because there's context to your actions, right? There's intentions to your actions, just like you were saying. But I feel like it's kind of ridiculous to think like are animals good or bad? Would you consider any other being other than humans have the capacity to be good or bad? And then people would argue, yes, dogs are good. But are they?
I'm allergic to dogs, so.
Oh, see, there you go. They're bad now. So, all this to say, like, it's being, like, I feel like there are very clear moral goods and bads, but then there is being a good person versus being a bad person. And I think those are two completely different things, because like you were saying, you can follow the law and never break any rules. Does that make you a good person? No. That does not make you a good person. So making good decisions consistently, thinking positive intentions, and then making decisions based on your intentions, whether that be not doing the thing, like you were saying. Maybe I have good intentions to do one thing, but then I realize, oh, that's going to not help. Then I choose not to do it. I think that's a good person thing to do. But anyways, to avoid talking in circles, I think the conclusion here is it's impossible to know what makes a good person. So focus on the simpler things, such as people's intentions, the context of their life, the context of their decisions, their integrity, their how often do they choose to do the right thing. And I think that's as close as you can get to being a good person, is how many good things can you do consistently. Because I feel like it's fairly unachievable to hit that mark that would, on all accounts, quantify you as you're a good person. Because everyone does something bad. And I think once you've done something bad, that kind of knocks you out of the race.
So,
in a technical sense.
So if that thought process, that means a good action and a bad action are not equal.
What do you mean by equal? Equal in what way?
Well, if I do a good thing and then I do a bad thing,
the bad thing will weigh it more.
No matter what?
I wouldn't say no matter what.
No matter
but
what?
Clear examples being donating to charities, contributing a lot to the community or specific person, or whatever, however you want to interpret that. And I'm using charities as like just a very basic example, but giving more than you're taking. Okay. I would say that's most of the time a good thing.
Here. Oh, I got one.
Okay.
So let's just say there's an unsuspecting person and you give them a gift.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just say the gift is valued around $20.
Okay.
Unsuspecting random person, here you go.
Okay.
It's like, oh, thanks. Appreciate it. Now, again, another random person, unsuspecting, you take something from them worth $20.
Yeah. That invalidates you being a good person.
Why can't it work the other way? Why
can't you make a life of bad decisions and then do one good thing and now you're a good person?
No, I did one action of each, is what I'm saying.
Okay. So why can't, say you did the bad thing first and then the good thing?
We could
kind of like Robin Hood.
We could order that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so
essentially,
so if I do the bad thing and then the good thing, so if I do the bad thing then the good thing, it's
well, once you're in this stance of equalness,
okay.
I'd say that's when it gets complicated, considering you'd need to know the context, such as.
Well, that's why the context was unsuspecting random person.
Okay, but here's this.
Okay. It could be even the same person to make it simpler.
So you steal from this person, right?
Yep.
First.
Okay.
Then you give them something of equal value. I would not say that makes you good.
Does it make them bad?
It depends. Bad, I feel like they each have their own. Like I said before, just because you're not doing something good doesn't mean you're doing something bad. Sometimes it does, sometimes it depends. So, since we're not getting specifics, I'm just going to say yes or no good person, okay?
Okay.
Either they are or they aren't.
Okay.
So, they steal something, then they give them $20. Steal something of $20 worth of value, give them $20. At the end of the day, that person still lost more than $20 because every object has more innate value than the price of money because of sentimentality and well, all the other contexts, but even being not that specific, you're still causing this person, you're taking, what's the right word? You're
stealing.
You're taking more than you're giving. No matter what, you're taking more than you're giving, because being something stolen from you, even if you stole my phone, someone stole my phone, and then they gave me the exact same phone, the exact same case, and the exact same screen protector, and all I had to do was sync it up to the cloud, and I get everything I had back.
You got a new phone.
Yeah, but I lost my old phone, and I'd say
maybe that's better.
I think losing my old phone would mean more than gaining a new phone.
Okay.
So
mine's got fingerprints. I won't mind a new one.
So, like, I think, yes, in that case, I guess, technology specifically, since it's all, like, essentially identical, it's kind of a bad example. But my point stands. And I think you don't have to do things to become, you can't do specific things to become a good person. I think you have to maintain being a good person. Because I've said this before. I think humans innately aren't good or bad, for the specific reason of it depends on your context, the culture, what's considered morally right, what's considered morally wrong. I think innately we're good, because innately our intentions are good, right? We almost, even the people who are horrible people are making decisions based on good intentions within their own justification. So I think everybody has this base level of good to them. But whenever you take the opportunity to make a bad decision, you're taking away from, you're not maintaining being good, if that makes sense. But if you were to do something bad and then do something good in response, you can't jump back up. Like I said, it's about maintenance. So you'd have to essentially make up for the one bad thing by doing good. Whereas you could do good, and then bad. That doesn't make you a bad person, but you're all of a sudden not a good person. Like, people consider me a good person, right? And then all of a sudden, no, I'm saying if they considered me to be a good person, they're like, yeah, I agree, you're a good person. And then I'm like, okay, well, one of these days I was walking down the street and I saw this woman with her kid. And I walked up, punched her in her face, stole her wallet, and ran away. I'm living a life of good decisions, but then I tell them that thing. Are they all of a sudden be like, you're a good person still? But you're still a good person. It never works that way, I don't feel. Because there's so much more weight to a bad decision than there is to a good decision. It's almost like you have to prove to other people who you are and what your intentions are. Perfect example is on the internet, especially nowadays. A thing called cancel culture. People make one bad decision, they're done for. Because no matter how many positive things they brought to the world, they can be instantly thrown out because they made a mistake, or maybe they're, like you were saying, they didn't have integrity and they're doing bad things behind the scenes, or they literally just did something trivial, but it was already decided upon that was a bad thing to do, and now they can't come back. Just because of the weight of the bad thing, people don't want to be on their conscience that they're supporting bad behavior. So it is almost always going to be the things you do bad matter more than things that you do good in life, which is a sucky reality. I'm not saying that I love the way that it is, but it's just the way it is. And I think that's kind of the crux of this conversation is I don't think it matters whether or not you're a good person, because I feel like a good majority of people will expect you to be a good person. It's not until you do something bad that you prove them wrong.
You went over a core concept that I believe in. You said where a good action does not equal a bad action.
Mm-hmm.
They weigh differently.
Yes.
One is heavier than the other.
Yes.
I agree with that statement.
Mm-hmm.
I believe a bad action is much heavier than a good action. You could save a person's life, but if you kill a person and take their life, you're going to be in big trouble.
Yeah.
Unless we're in war. That's different. But
hey, all is fair in love and war.
Exactly. And that's...
Unless it's a war crime.
There you go. And that's what that's only for losers.
Yeah.
You didn't know, I forgot. It was like 2 generals or something that nuked Japan.
Mm-hmm.
They were like being interviewed and they're like, "Oh yeah, if we lost, we'd be sued for war crimes."
Yeah. Just like, well, I mean, that's not just like it, but the whole Vietnam thing where, anyways, we all know Vietnam was problematic and pretty much nobody got held to any consequences regardless of the morality of choices, the morality of their actions, because it was during war. Isn't that weird? We're almost willing to, I mean, nowadays we wouldn't, but I'm saying back then, the excuse was like war, essentially.
I just find it interesting, the whole winner and losers thing, but also going back to bad being worse or heavier than good.
Yeah.
Because I always relate it to winning and losing. My opinion, losing, it's a much more intense feeling.
Fascinating.
Than it is of winning. Mm-hmm. I think that is prevalent in our Skype calls, playing Smite.
Video games, competitiveness in general, yes.
But we always come back. That's a different reason. But those moments of feeling that pain of loss or whatever it is, very extreme. And I think it's related to the good and the bad actions, or it's just, as you said before, you better do a lot of good because that one bad action is really fucking heavy.
Yeah. I think this is going to get real hippie-ish in a second here.
Ew.
I think what would you call it? Fate or whatever has a natural way of balancing. Say you are raised in an environment where you couldn't possibly do any bad. Say, and hear me out before anybody assumes anything here. Say a rich kid has no problems, right, in their life, and they've got no way to do bad. No way to make really... They never have to make a bad decision, right? They can basically coast through because
almost
there are very few obstacles. But the result of that, I'd say, for the sake of argument, oftentimes what happens when people are in that situation is they tend to do more negative. I don't want to say bad because it's, at the end of the day, it's not too bad, but they tend to do more negativity because there's so much positivity, right? And it balances out. And people with very negative lives tend to give off more positivity. And I think that can sort of be related to good and bad. And I feel like they tend to balance themselves out. And like you were saying, you've got to intentionally maintain a lot of good. But at the same time, you do one bad thing and it's like all of those years of good can seemingly be thrown out because you did this one bad thing.
Well, we could add another layer because we've been talking about people's judgment. But what about our own judgment?
Okay.
What about what we think of ourselves?
Yeah.
Because I know we could take that rich person you said in that scenario that could do no wrong. But what about how they view themselves, where they're like, oh, geez, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything out for myself. Everything's taken care of me.
Yeah.
What about that then?
I think that's just the next layer deeper. And honestly, I feel like that's the first layer, is people doing good or bad to themselves. And I think people can get trapped in this illusion because there's a very big disconnect that people can get to where they will do bad things that are bad for them, but have this like twist in their head that it's good for them because it makes them feel good. So they put, very basic cliche example, bullies put other people down in an attempt to lift themselves up, and they think they're doing good on themselves, whether or not at the expense of other people.
That reminded me of a social media thing. Like, everyone looking at social media. I think there was an actual study done where people are like using social media where it's like straight up sadder. And it was because like they were comparing themselves obviously to the highlight or whatever.
Yep.
But did they like, seems like the ladies mainly. I know the guys too, but mainly the ladies.
Prominently, yes.
They're really good at taking these selfies now. Mm-hmm. Got the angles, got the filters or whatever, got the poses.
The poses.
Well, I saw one that I was just like, that's bad. Like, well,
yes.
Like typical pose, like a girl, they'll just stand in a certain way to make their ass look bigger.
Oh, it's trying to stand or take the most optimal picture to make themselves look either attractive or just good.
Yeah. It was a picture, and it was just a picture of girls standing on the tracks of Auschwitz, and she's just she's smiling and everything, and she's sticking her ass out in the center of the tracks and posting it. And I was reading the comments of that picture, and then everyone was like, what the actual fuck is wrong with you? Going out of your way to be making sure you're looking all dolled up, making sure your ass is looking bigger while you're at Auschwitz.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's pretty bad in my opinion.
I think that's a bad thing to do.
I don't think she's a bad person. I think that was a very stupid thing to do. Where I'm just like,
yes, it was ignorant.
It was very ignorant.
Yes,
because when you read Night, and I recommend anyone read Night because it's a good book.
Yes,
you're just like, man, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have.
It goes back to that taking things for granted that we were talking about last time.
Yeah,
you can get so caught up in the fact that you can visit this place that is no longer so
a death factory.
Yes, exactly. And use your cell phone and take this picture of you standing literally right where millions of people were being hauled and killed. If it was any other train tracks, this wouldn't have the same weight to it. But it's like, it's almost like the equivalent of like not respecting the past, not respecting what has happened, and almost acting like it either doesn't matter or it didn't happen, or acting like it's irrelevant, when you have to very intentionally go to this place to the specific location and do it. And I think that's the most egregious part is like, this person traveled there for whatever reason, but they went there. It's not just a common place people are.
You don't get there by chance.
Yeah, it's not like me walking down to McDonald's, right? Like, you go there, it's a tourist site.
Yeah.
Fully knowing the context of what you're doing, and it's like, I'm going to do it. And then, obviously, people are going to be upset because it's like, there's so many layers to that.
How I view it, and this is going back to, humans are complicated, do things for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was definitely more of the ignorant side.
Yeah, just not realizing.
A lack of realization. Because, and I agree with this. I think it was Stalin. He said...
what a great way to start that sentence off.
It was, a single death is tragic, and then multiple statistics.
Yeah.
Like, when I say, millions of people died in Auschwitz, I say it like, I'm not sitting here in tears...
Yes.
Breaking down and crying.
Right.
But then when someone close to you, they die.
Yep.
It's like, you start breaking down and crying.
That's the power of biographies, though. That's exactly why Night is good. Because it takes this idea where it's like...
He's one of the numbers that told his story. He didn't die, so he's obviously not part of that death number, but he told it through his lens. And so it's like, okay.
You get a real in-depth
rather than a quantitative thing, you got a qualitative thing.
Yes.
You got the quality of it.
Yes.
And so what I think for a lot of people, like that lady, for example, it was a quantitative thing where you could tell her this many people died. And it's just like, oh no.
Oh, I'm sorry. But then it's like, my grandmother went through this specific situation, and you break it down, then it's like, it's all about humans empathize. They
empathy and sympathy.
Yes, it's like they literally, if you force someone to not relive, but really understand what someone went through, and by putting them in their shoes, they will instantly understand. But if you say like millions of people did this thing, it's like, well, I'm not millions of people. I'm one person. So how can I even begin to understand what that's like unless it's broken down for me in a sense where I know what it feels like to walk in their shoes. And I don't know, it's hard because clearly that girl's intention wasn't to be extremely offensive.
I don't think, and this is me interpreting, I don't think she was trying to shit on all the people that died there.
Exactly.
I don't think that was the intention. I think it was a lot of things, and I think it was more along the lines of everyone takes these types of pictures because it's social media.
Mm-hmm.
And so you do what's meta, you do what's popular.
Yes.
And so you follow along with it.
Yep.
And sometimes you take pictures like that where it's like, I don't know if that's really appropriate,
but I'm going to post it anyways. And
I guess that makes it even worse,
Yeah.
You sat there, put whatever filters you wanted on it.
God.
And then you're like, that's a good picture.
Damn, that's cool.
That could be on my feed.
Oh, God.
And it's
just hard because people just...
Well, I feel like we could segue this then into like, are we being desensitized?
Yes, but we shouldn't segue there because
I know
we have hit our mark.
I know. I just thought it's a good thing to poke at because
we should talk about that. I'm not going to say we're talking about it next time because every time I say that, it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
So I guarantee we'll get back on the topic of desensitization because I think we are walking examples of people being desensitized to specific things. And everybody, with the internet's,
still human.
Yes, with the internet's existence, it's an entire culture of desensitization. But
that's true.
We'll elaborate on that at some point, but especially with 2020. But anyways, that was episode 13. Started out a little wacky, a little wackadoo. Then it really did get philosophical, Joe. That question really...
I'm just writing a paper right now. And that's what I'm writing about. So I was like, It was already on my mind, so I'm like, I'll just ask it.
Well, maybe this will help you in your paper endeavors.
I already have it planned out.
So, cool. Well, if you enjoyed and you're listening on iTunes, it'd be cool if you left a rating. Don't need to leave a review or anything. You just press the button, leave a rating. Helps with people who are first scrolling through and see it. Do all the YouTube stuff. We're try to be very consistent. I've uploaded every Friday since. So on YouTube, it's been since September. Since on iTunes and Spotify, it's been since the beginning of October because, anyways. But it's been a good 2 or 3 months at this point, which is super cool. So if you follow us on social media and all that, you'll actually get updates of when we do post and a little snippet to like get an idea of what's going on. And we would love some interaction. So anytime we ask questions like these, whether it be on the last episode or this one or the one before that, go ahead, leave your thoughts if you have anything interesting, and I'm more than willing to discuss it and bring it up in a future episode. And yeah. Do you have anything else to add, Jared?
Nope.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.